Come on now.
Okay, let's play a game. We got two topics here. I'll just throw it out. You just tell me it's something or it's nothing.
Okay.
George Kittle, because of the two different injuries he had this offseason, didn't lift at all for like a month after the Super Bowl and dropped like 30 pounds. Now, supposedly he's put some of that weight on. You know, like you hear me a lot of times will say, oh, I love Aaron Banks. His walk around weight is his playing weight. And what I mean by that is if you see him right now, he weighs the same as he does in the middle of the season. He walks around at 320. He plays at 320 or whatever it is, 330. George Kittle's the opposite. George Kittle has to lift weights to be a football player. He's normally like 220 pounds who gets to like 245, 250 because he's yoked up and he spends tons of time in the weight room. He's a pumped up, 230 pound guy who's playing at closer to 250. So that being said, the weight loss.
Yeah.
Are you concerned? Is it something or is it nothing?
I say it's nothing just because we've seen George on the sidelines this spring and he looks normal. He looks fine. And as somebody who is highly attuned to weight on myself and everyone else, if there was something that seemed off, I would have noted. I think George has lost a few. And I did. I said maybe he's a little bit trimmer, and it quickly explained with the surgery and all that. But he doesn't look in any way like he couldn't go out there. He's still ripped up. He's still muscular as hell. There's nothing weak about that guy. And I'm sure that by the end of training camp, he'll be back at his fighting weight. And in fact, it might even behoove him a little bit to drop 5 from where he was last year, maybe even 10. Give him a little bit more pep in that step because there were some times last year where he looked like he was running in quicksand, and that's not the George Kittle that we've come to know. I would imagine that he's bulked up throughout his career relative to when he came in, and the receiving numbers have somewhat suffered with that. There's a lot of other factors. I don't think it's a problem at all because even if being lighter doesn't work out for him, he can always get heavier. And he's shown that time and time again. So I don't see a problem. I'm just happy he got his goddamn injuries dealt with. Apparently it had been like 8-9 years. And every offseason we, ask him like, you going to deal with that shoulder you wear a brace for all the time? I'm not going to do that. I'm glad he finally did it. I think it will prolong his career in a very serious way. So this is a nothing for me big time.
And if his career is not prolonged, he still's got that, super cheap sunglass money.
That's right. Now at least he can put someone over his head to body slam him. I mean, there's a lot of options for George Kittle.
He's got that Zenny cash. He's got that Zenny cash looking for cheapo sunglasses. All right. Keyshawn Nixon is talking trash to Deebo. Something or nothing?
You're going to other people have to translate this shit for me, Larry. This is such a nothing to me. Like,
I just gave you as much as I have on it.
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of people text me about it, and it's just like, why? I literally responded to one of them like, how is this something you thought that I would care about? Like I'm legitimately like somewhat insulted that you sent me this. We don't even talk that much. And they're like, whoa, you see this? And it's like, yeah, first I have. 2, I don't care. I didn't even get into the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. That was the only thing happening in popular culture. I didn't even care about that, lest I care about this. So this is an absolute nothing burger for me. And honestly, I feel sad for anyone who thinks this is something.
Seriously, that is true. That's probably the best way to state it. It's not only not anything. If you think it is something, then we're really concerned.
What are we doing?
Exactly. What are we doing here?
Like, listen. We're dealing with sports, and all of this stuff is superfluous to the true, existence of our and the condition of the humankind. All this stuff is ridiculous and off the board, and it does not matter. If you're actually caring about that beef, I'm going to say this: get a life. And I know that applies to everything that we have ever done in our entire careers and all that, but that we have reached a point where even I can't suspend disbelief in that I should give a damn. It's incredible.
The 49ers are in a situation where only 3 of the previous 56 Super Bowl losers returned the next year and won the Super Bowl. That's where they're at. They lost the Super Bowl, and only 3 times in 50, of the previous 56 has the team that lost the Super Bowl won the Super Bowl the next year.
What was that?
Is that something or is that nothing?
That's something. That's very much something. One of those was Kansas City. Was that no? Did Kansas City take a year off here?
They've won two in a row now.
They won 2 in a row now, but I think they took a year off. Burrow beat them the year after, so it's been a minute.
Right. They had 1 year they missed out.
It's a real thing, and I know a lot of people want to attribute COVID, not a small thing, to why the 49ers had such a terrible 2020 season after going to the Super Bowl in 2019. I more attribute it to the fact that everybody on that flipping team got injured. Like it became comical, and like not for them, but for me, it was like hilarious. Like, you couldn't go 5 minutes without somebody getting injured, and it was a lot of injury luck from the year before coming back, regressing to the mean, and paying off a year later. And I look at the 49ers last year and I think to myself, they had a lot of injury luck. And I know it didn't feel that way in the Super Bowl when Deebo Samuel couldn't separate and Christian McCaffrey's got a shoulder thing and Trent Williams looked like a shell of himself. But they really only had 3 games where injuries deeply affected them. And those were those 3 losses in the middle of the year when Trent and Deebo weren't there. And they were, I think, inarguably one of the healthiest teams in the NFL last year.
To that end, the Niners' 9 Pro Bowlers last year missed a combined 7 starts due to injury.
Yeah, and I can account for 5 of them just off the top of my with 2 guys. So, and there was a lot of guys in that last week who kind of just didn't show up, right? Due to injury, I suppose, is the key modifier there. But who's to say? Because they had to put him on the injury report to not play in that final game. Regardless, I can't tell you it's going to happen or not. Certainly no one is stupid or karmically inept enough to predict such injuries. But man, I doubt the ball bounces the same way twice. That's where I'll leave it. I have a sneaking suspicion that the 49ers are going to need to rely on their depth, which was a big question mark for this team last year, and I think is better this year. But they're going to need to rely on their depth more this season if logic serves. And that is of concern to me. And that is, I think, one of the main reasons you play in an extra couple football games. Those are games and a half, if not 2X games, if not 5X games. I mean, playoff football is an entirely different beast, and the NFL is hard enough as it is. It is so brutal. I really, really question. And I would probably not put my own money on the 49ers going back to the Super Bowl just because of all the things that can go wrong and all the sort of accrued vibes that are bad vibes that they sort of evaded last year. It's very much a thing for me, Larry, and I hope I'm wrong about it.
All right.